welcome to the Think Better podcast. I am your host, Stephen Kyoge, and today we have another episode with a different topic this time. And if our guests would like to introduce themselves,
Hi, I'm Brian.
it's okay. So, thank you, Brian. What do you do? What do you do, Brian?
I'm a grade school teacher, specifically grade 6, Araling Panlipunan teacher.
Okay. So Brian and I, my mutual friend, our mutual friend Bennett introduced me to him. How do you know him?
Sorry, sir, I didn't hear that. Oh,
Oh, sure, sure. How do you know Bennett? How did you meet him?
Bennett po.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, magka-batch po kami. No? He is my batchmate in grade 4 math teacher.
Uh, what was your specialization? Your major?
My major is social studies. Araling
Uh,
Panlipunan.
so it's good to hear because today I wanted to have like a quick conversation on pre-colonial Filipino culture. Because I've always been fascinated by what the country was like before the Spaniards came, and I just wanted to have like a teacher's insight on the topic. So for I think I want to start with our question. I'll start our discussion on this. On what do you, there are a lot of ethnic groups, no, dami ng ethnic groups, uh, pre-colonial Philippines during the time. Is there one in particular that you like?
When it comes to ethnic groups, I don't think I have this yung parang gustong-gusto ko talaga. Pero as far as I know, these ethnic groups kasi they have their own, or I mean, different cultures and traditions. Let's say for example, in Pangasinan, in Ilonggo, in the Luzon and Visayas regions, it depends on what traditions they have. But as far as I can remember, most of them most of the culture of the Philippines came from Luzon, most specifically the Manunguljar, something like that. So I guess if I get to choose, I'll choose one from Luzon. Siguro po.
Which one would it be?
Siguro yung sa Pangasinense.
Okay. I've been curious about that. Kasi, for one, back in grade school, I don't think we weren't like educated as much on pre-colonial Philippines. Due to like, I'm not too sure what the curriculum was demanding then, but I remember we mostly focused on lapu-lapu and the societal hierarchies of their culture at the time. So you mentioned most of pre-colonial Filipino culture comes from Luzon. How how that how's that how that come to be?
Let's say the one that I said or mentioned a while ago, the Pangasinense. Kasi the Filipinos were hospitable, especially to the foreigners when they come here in our country. And the Pangasinense or this ethnic group is one of those people who have this, like they need to be more hospitable, and at the same time, their traditions, like they have this positive outlook in life, based from what I read before. Pangasinense are known for having a positive outlook in life, and just like the Filipinos nowadays, when we encounter or have problems.
Okay, that's actually fascinating. I at least that gives me an idea where our own positive outlook on life that we usually still come from. Good to know. I noticed that also like cultures in Visayas and Mindanao that are also rather distinct. Can you tell me about them?
Mm. In the cultures naman po in Visayas, I think the Aklanon and Ilonggo or Waray, kasi they are very famous with their cultural festivals. As we all know, even up to this day, we have these festivals.
Yeah.
And before, they value or they have this festival in order to um, give thanks to their gods, their ancestors before, or uh, they usually think that if they're gonna celebrate or have a cultural festival, their wishes will be granted, like to have abundant life, happiness, and prosperous year.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's so. Like, what was that in what I which remember the name of it, the festival that you do.
Mm,
I don't remember.
that I remember. In Iloilo, they have this Dinagyang. In Cebu, the Sinulog Festival, and in
Uh, yeah, that's the
Aklan,
one that we
famous for the
do.
Aklan.
Because I noticed Silulum now is for has been delegated to what as a festival thank you for Santo Niño, even though it has pre-colonial roots. How do you think how do you think that happened?
Uh,
Oh,
it happened. I remember. It happened in the during the time of colonialism. The gift of one datu that came from Cebu is baby Jesus, which is Santo Niño. That's why they are known for Sinulog Festival because of its colonial roots. Yeah, they gave the Santo Niño to the Spaniards as a gift for welcoming them in their hometown or territory.
oh yeah, actually I remember a teacher telling me that story back in high school. Yeah, that actually makes sense. Uh, so moving on from that, what this again, like I said, I've always had this fascination with pre-colonial Filipino culture, like with their clothing, how they live, and surprisingly, looking sometimes trying to look it up online doesn't give me a lot of information. But what I have gleaned from sources is that they've made a lot of good relationships with other Indochina countries like China, Korea, and Malaysia, I believe. Malaysia also, and I think Thailand. Am I right? Am I right on that?
Mm. Before po kasi, during the pre-colonial times, before the the famous invaders came in our country, we have these Negritos, Indones and Malay, and then the Chinos, yung mga from China. Sila po yung mga, they were the first one who came in our country. But they didn't conquer our country yet. They're just looking for some territories, most especially the natural resources that they can get in our territory. So they didn't know that it is a country when the Spaniards came or colonialism came or happened. Yun. That's the time they know that it's a territory and it is a country
Oh yeah.
consisting of different dialects and ethnic groups.
Mm. Yeah. It's, that's good to know because I've always noticed that uh, um there's been like a lot of intermingling with these all other with these foreigners with the local population back then. I like you mga Malay and are we have roots then in I think they have roots in Malaysia and other Southeast Asian countries. And I always notice that because the traditions are sometimes similar. The words used by both Indonesians and by both Indonesian in Indonesia are also similar. And that's something that's always like. really, like I really noticed at time when watching other when listening to other Southeast Asian listening to the other languages of Southeast Asian countries, that like there are similar words that they use or different meanings, and that that's something that that's something that really just blew my mind since there we've uh, like integrated they integrated so well with us. Uh, in your opinion, does that um do- isn't that in your opinion what do you think about that integration that that we have this like almost like similar levels of similar style of culture other with other countries.
What's my opinion on that? Uh, Maybe because we are surrounded by water. That's why most of us Filipinos, livelihood, most especially those who live near the ocean or seas, um, fishing is their main source of livelihood. Aside from that, the agriculture, because of our abundant, what do you call this, parang yung mga natural resources natin, most especially the coconut, baka, yung mga ganyan. Maybe it helped them to those Negritos, Indones, and Malay, and other Southeast Asian countries who went here in the Philippines to learn how to adopt this kind of call this, parang it's like a culture or somehow environment, yeah.
Yeah,
So it also help them to know what to do with these things. Kasi I remember yung mga Indones are good in agriculture, kamalay, so, in fishing, something like that. And hunting naman for Negritos, which helped us shape, how, or I mean, which helped them before for the pre-colonial period to get food and to live and for it's like survival kasi diba during war. So it really helped.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Uh, it's I think it depends on and also on like the environment. Like in Visayas, I don't Visayas probably would have benefited a lot from fishing back then. Because it's a very big group of islands compared to in Luzon, which is a big landmass, and yeah, that's a good that's that's also pretty insightful as well. Uh, do, what about do you have it? What about what is it called? Clothing? I've noticed also that a lot of pre-colonial artwork tends to feel like similar in describe in like depicting different indigenous groups with their clothing. Do you have any insight on that?
Um, let's say for example in tattoos, they have this puto that they put on top of their head. Based from what I know, the tattoos they have different patterns for their puto. For the ordinary tattoo, we have this kasi raha and tattoo, wherein the raha are for the bigger barangay, while datu are for smaller barangays, wherein they have different patterns uh, to know which who among them uh, belongs to the highest rank. So I think what do you call this? Parang yung mga ganito really help them to know kung ano talaga ang status nila in life. Um, Aside from that, the bahag, di ba we have the one that we put as our shorts right now before sila ay bahag naman. Pero ayun, parang yung mga patterns, iba-iba pa rin siya. Based from or based on their rank in the society. If they belong in tattoo or if
uh, let's go a little bit more in the hierarchy because after this I was thought about it when it has been some time. Below below Datu, after Raha and Datu, what's after that?
The Raha Datu, we also have Sultan. Yung Sultan, these are from Muslim people. Pero they belong in the class Magino. That's what we call them. And then after that, we have Maharlika. Yung Maharlika, these are the ones beside the Datu to protect them. They are like warriors to protect the Datu or the king. And then, after that is what we call Timawa, the free people in the society. These free people, sila yung mga parang they sell yung mga businesses in the market, yun sa kanila yun na ka-assign. We also have the alipins, yung mga but the alipin, it is also divided into two, the aliping na mamahay and the aliping sa gigilid, wherein if aliping na mamahay, you live inside the dado's house or your master's house. Sa saging gilid naman, parang they live outside, but they need permission if another master would want to get them. Parang hindi sila agad-agad makukuha. They, if I remember, if I'm not mistaken, the aliping na mamahay, they are allowed to own their to own a house, while aliping sa gilid, they need permission from the dato before they own the house.
Oh,
And
I,
also sorry, to like
no
if
worries.
they want someone to marry for aliping na mamahay, they are allowed, but for aliping sa gilid, they are not allowed. They need to ask permission first.
Mhm. I always thought that Alipin usually were like deemed as slaves. That's not from the sound of it. That doesn't sound true.
It's like ano, parang the aliping na mamahay, parang they are slaves, but for aliping na mamahay, they live inside Dato's house. Tapos parang they can own their property also. Parang yun nga, house, etc. But for aliping sa gigil kasi parang ito na yung pinaka-lowest. They are the lowest one na parang they really need permission bago sila gawin yung mga bagay na parang sila yung mas pinarusahan or get more punished than aliping sa gigil.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to come back to me. Uh, yeah. So, uh, we'll be concluding shortly. So I just want to ask you like one more question. Uh, what do you think is what do you think is the importance of teaching this for students now? Is it as is something I've also noticed that if all of our like cultural identity has started to become too mingled in with the with stuff Spaniards left behind, with the years of colonial rule that they had on us. So, what do you think is the importance of like, making sure that our students now learn about our pre-colonial history?
I think number one is the relationship of the peace rank of the Philippine society before Pre-Colonial to the one that they will study when they're already in high school, which is the one in the caste system of India, wherein we can easily identify that these rank are really visible before. Another thing, second, this would really help them to know that the poor and rich people have this gap in our society before, even up to this day. But it is not like we are being classified back before kasi we are classified into but right now we are only being classified if you are in a poor or rich group of people. So parang it will really help them to realize the transition from having ranks before up to modern society now. Now we are not classified, but we are still having this kind of rank. Pero yun na nga, poor and rich na lang. And then, um, what else? I think this would help them also to know what really happened in our culture before the colonialism came in our country, the Spaniards came in our country, wherein we are not in the high rank anymore. Na parang we are already in the fourth level or third level if you are half. Most of them are Spaniards na in the highest rank. And then most of the Filipinos, the what you call Filipinos, are in the lowest rank.
Yeah, so there you go. I always thought it was more. I always thought like fun, like the importance of this topic because it's. I really want to feel like the connection to our roots back before we adopted Christianity, before we our culture got integrated a lot more with Spanish culture, and it feels like a page in history that's unique, and it's inspired me a lot with like right now I'm like building this putting this into a book, this like creating a culture similar to that of pre-colonial Philippines, but then in a much more more fantastical sense, if you will. And it's just like it's there's something about there's knowing more about it just feels like something I want. I think it should be important. I think needs to be done because we have, of course, we have the museums that help us with that, with other historians also who want to spread that awareness, and they other surviving indigenous ones that are also still around, and and I I feel like that I want that to continue on so that we don't just get drowned. Our entire history, our entire like basis for our culture doesn't get drowned out by the aspects of colonialism left us that left us. Because, well, I noticed other Southeast Asian countries still have their roots with their own culture from the past, and us are not as much. Do you agree? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, yeah.
So before we end before we end this episode, is there a question you'd like to pose to our audience about the topic?
Maybe the question that you asked me, I would just like to rephrase it. It's like, what is the significant effect of these traditions during the pre-colonial period in our life? So, what is the significant effect of
All
these
right,
pre-colonial traditions for
all
the
right.
youth?
So yeah, what is the significance of these traditions in our life right now, right? Yes. All right. That is for you listeners to decide. So, right. So we're coming to the end of our episode today. Thank you, Brian, for coming aboard and enlightening us with on this topic that really should definitely have more importance in our curriculum as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
thank you also for having me.
yeah, no problem. No problem. So I should also take Bennett for having it for a lot for getting me in touch with you. So yes. So all right. This is Thank you everyone for listening. This is the Think Better podcast, and I'll see you next episode. Bye.